Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, where we discuss the concepts of health, wealth, leadership, and legacy. My name is Chad Himes. I'm your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bob Stewart. Bob, what's the word for today?
Today's word is intensity, Chad.
Whoa. Okay, hold back on that, because I don't think anybody's going to understand where that word comes from, yet I think it's going to become really clear really quickly why you might have picked that word. So this podcast episode is going to be a little bit different than all the ones we've had leading up to this. Bob, what are we changing up here?
Well, so to this point, it's been you and I having a conversation with Ben.
Right.
And we're going to bring somebody else into the fold. So today we're going to hear a conversation Ben has with David Goggins. So Chad, tell these guys a little bit about David Goggins if they don't know.
All right. For those of you who don't know David Goggins, he's a retired Navy SEAL. He's the only member of the U.S. Armed Forces to complete SEAL training, including 2 Hell Weeks, the U.S. Army Ranger School, where he graduated as an enlisted honor man, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. He's completed, Bob, get this, over 60 ultra marathons.
I don't even know how many miles that would be. It's like 100 or more.
60 ultra marathons, triathlons, and ultra triathlons, and he doesn't just do them. He regularly places in the top 5. He once held the Guinness World Record. Well, I got to ask you this first. How many pull-ups can you do?
That's rude. How dare you ask?
All right, how many pull-ups can you do? All right, well, don't answer that, because David once held the world record, the Guinness World Record, for pull-ups doing, get this, 4,030 pull-ups over 17 hours.
I mean, I can sleep 17 hours in 17 hours, but come on.
4,030 pull-ups. I haven't done the math on how many that is an hour because we said there's no math on this podcast, yet that is a lot. He's always also a speaker, of course, and is the author of a book you hopefully have read, and if you haven't, get your copy of Can't Hurt Me. I think after that intro of who David is, everyone might understand why intensity was the word you chose.
Yeah.
So this is a different format, as we've said. Ben had a conversation with David. Let's listen in to the first part.
Before we get into kind of your past and your history, David, you said something the other day that stuck in my head for a month. And you said something along the lines of there's no leaders anymore. Do you remember how exactly you phrased that?
Yeah, it's pretty much how I said it. Was we were talking about this very conversation right now about trying to get this put together, and my whole thing about writing this book is there are no leaders anymore. A lot of people are out for themselves. To be a leader, it sucks. It really does suck, because you're having to put yourself almost last, and you're putting a lot of people before you, a lot of situations, a lot of circumstances before you. And what I see now is a lot of people looking out for themselves first. Then maybe if it helps me to help you, I'll help you, is the mentality that I'm seeing nowadays. So that's where it comes from. It comes from just keeping your eyes opened up, looking around at where the country's going, not any particular person. I could care less what you like, Democrat, Republican, wherever you're at in life. I just see everybody just looking out for themselves and not keeping an open mind.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think that means to us? What should we do about that?
Well, we should do the exact opposite of what's going on in the country right now. As a whole, as people, it's important to go back to the kind of our roots of, opening doors, helping people with, if you see someone carrying a whole bunch of boxes, hey, sir, ma'am, can I help you with that? Getting outside your own world. Like, you see someone struggling with their suitcase in the airport, in the airplane. We're so caught up on our phones and what's going on in our immediate sector of life that we're missing everything going on around us. And it is truly affecting how the country is run as a whole. So if you go back to the old school mentality of, if you're a man, open the door for a woman. If you're a woman, whatever, everybody has their roles in life as far as helping one another out. And we just kind of lost those very basic things of being a human being. And it's kind of trickled off into a world of very selfish people that we are so fixated on our phone, society, and what's going on in our own personal lives that we're missing the fact that the person right next to you is struggling carrying some boxes.
Yeah. We got to do a better job of looking around us and helping these individuals. And not only that, the message I get from you so often is we need to take responsibility for being our own leader and leading ourselves out of our own problems, as opposed to looking around and waiting for this savior to get here. And once we've mastered that, we can start helping the rest of the people to follow us through this journey. And your story in itself, which like me, we kind of kept our stories private and internal, for whatever reason, David. But over time, what we realized by sharing those little tiny nuggets, it gave people a reason to push forward themselves. And instead of us making our stories about impressing people, it's now about empowering these people to do something or to push further than they can.
I would have loved to have been in a room with those two guys having that conversation with the intensity that those guys both have.
Yeah, I mean, you would have had to be able to do like 700 push-ups. I think that's what him and Ben did right before they started.
So when you say 700 push-ups, you mean he did 700 and Ben counted?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure, Bob. All right. The thing I got from that as we were listening to it, and we were both nodding our head kind of at the exact same time going through the conversation, is David says, if it helps me to help you, I will help you. And that people don't have that leadership mentality that we need anymore. What was your full take on that, Bob?
So I really like the idea that he said leadership starts with just kind of getting outside of yourself, right? And he said, we're on our phones and we're all like self-absorbed, really. And he said that, it literally starts where we just kind of look around us and see where are there opportunities to help somebody, where is somebody maybe that needs to be led, right? Like even in our own organizations, we may be so absorbed with what we have going on that we're not looking for those opportunities to lead, right? And so to me, it was just like this kind of like, yeah, gosh, anytime you go anywhere, right, we're all just buried in that phone, right? And so it was just hearing him say like, what about the lady when you're walking on the plane who needs help with her luggage, or the guy and you're just in your phone, right? So just being aware.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up because, Bob, people don't think about that as leadership, right? Leadership is follow me, I'm going to take you all here. Yet that if you helped somebody put their bag up on the plane, somebody else saw that. And you did just lead that person to maybe making a better choice later that day.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was part of the conversation, only part of the conversation, because Ben and David didn't stop there. They jumped into one of my favorite words, and that is accountability, right? It's not a bad word. Everybody wants to think accountability is a bad word. Consequence is a bad word, not accountability.
Yeah. I do the words, by the way. I don't know
yeah, that's true. The words are your thing. Yet that's the word that they talk about here. Let's jump to this conversation between Ben and David.
Some more lessons that are in your new book, Can't Hurt Me. What do you think the big takeaways for people are going to be in the book?
Well, one big takeaway is I have this thing called the accountability mirror. And that's really where all this starts at. Trying to find the 40%, trying to find that 1 second, trying to armor your mind, trying to callous your mind. All these things I have in this book, all these different mental tactics, mental tools to find how can I win the war in the morning. So a lot of us, we wake up already defeated. We wake up. So when you leave your house, even before you leave your house, life is coming at you very fast. It just is. It's the world we live in. People try to make it all clean and, oh my God, your outlook. No, it's just true. Life is coming at you fast. So you have to take advantage of the things that are in front of you that you can control. For me, I try to win the war in the morning, which means don't get up in the morning time and start losing, which like hit the snooze button. Immediately in the morning, you already start to fail yourself. You're already falling behind the 8 ball of life. You want to attack life already starting to put that armor on. Like like before you go into combat, they give you body armor. You got to start putting that mental armor on every single morning you wake up. So when you get into that situation of life where your boss is angry, or you're losing your job, or you can't pay your bills, or you're not making the money you should be making, or your wife or your husband or kids, whatever comes at you of life, you've already started to put the mental armor on in the morning by winning the war against yourself in the morning. So when those things come at you through the day, you have something to fall back on, which is the fact that I've armored myself for this crap that's happening now. Versus saying, God, I got up late this morning, hit the snooze button, I didn't shave, I didn't shower, I rushed out the house, and it snowballs. So when I'm going back to the accountability mirror is, when I started this journey, I broke everything down to the smallest molecule. Like I said, I didn't think about running 10,000 steps. I didn't think about losing 106 pounds in less than 3 months. I thought about, let's lose a pound. Like most people having that kind of daunting task in front of me, it's just not coming off fast enough. I quit. I'm done. Versus looking at all the small, great accomplishments you've done on this journey, taking that, rebottling it, you have to rebottle these accomplishments as more fuel. So the accountability mirror is just that. I had these sticky notes all over my mirror as, okay, today I'm not losing 106 pounds. Today I'm burning 3,500 calories today, which is a pound. That's what I'm doing. Today I will accomplish this goal. And I didn't put the 106 pounds up there. I had these, so the accountability mirrors, what did I do today and what didn't I do today? My dad messed me up. My mom messed me up. The kids that call me nigger messed me up. But now all that shit in my life is now mine to own. It's not mine. They're not coming back to help me. So now I have to now take this, repackage it, hold myself accountable for whatever life throws at me, and start fixing it. It all starts with the reflection in the mirror, and that's my accountability mirror. Don't blame anybody for where you're at. Even if people may have helped you get there, don't blame them. This is how you fix yourself.
You know what I love about that, David? You know, this call is filled with a whole bunch of really high achievers, and maybe not all in athletics and maybe not all in business, but there's really high achievers. These achievers tend to put a goal in their head, and they make their life or their year or their 5 years or their 10 years about that one goal. And then they get up to that goal and they accomplish it, and they have 10 seconds of euphoria. And then all of a sudden they look around and there's another thing they got to go do. And that means that they have no happiness or joy. And what I hear you saying is, you're saying, freaking enjoy the journey and
Yes.
make little tiny victories that you can be your summits along the way, because that actual summit, it doesn't last long.
Right. Like I say to everybody, man, like the biggest trophy I have in my life is what I'm talking to you right now about. And this is very, this is very surface. My book goes very detailed. But that is we have to not live in that moment forever, because there can't be a finish line. There just can't be. The only finish line is death. But we have to enjoy the journey. We have to continue to find our new 100%. There's a tons of vets that I talk to, and they say, well, I don't have any, I can't run anymore. I don't have any legs or whatever. I'm like, okay, roger that, man. So what is your new 100%? What can you do now with what you have? With what you have right now, what the hell is your new 100%? We can't worry about you don't have legs. We can't worry about that. We can't worry about any of this crap. What do we have to work with now? Let's find that new 100%. So that's why I keep on telling you, there is no finish line, man. There's always a journey to either give back, to help out, to help yourself, to help others. Whatever you gotta do, you're constantly pushing yourself to that next goal, that next new level.
Okay, Bob, the intensity does not slow down between these two as they talk about this concept of accountability. What was your takeaway from that conversation?
I think the thing that really jumped out at me is where he talks about like breaking things down and just kind of incrementally getting better, right? Losing that first pound or running that first mile, but because when you look at losing 100 pounds or going from, I did 5 deals to I want to do 100, you always think like, wow, it's so far, it's so much, and it overwhelms you. And so that whole like breaking things down into really accomplishable segments, right? I can lose 1 pound. I could do one more deal, or I could eliminate that one thing or whatever. So I really like that part of things because it makes it feel like we could all do it, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to do 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, but I could start by doing 10 pull-ups, right? Yep. So that, and it really segues well into the next video.
Absolutely, it does. Yet before we get to it, do you want to get those 10 pull-ups in? Because we can wait. Not right now?
I'll do them, yeah. I'll be accountable for those later.
Just wanted to check. All right, so let's go back to Ben and David as they finish up their conversation, and they talk about this 1 second rule, which is a really, really powerful one, especially after the aha you just had. Let's hear what Ben and David have to say.
When I first read that statement from you, before I met you, it really made an impact on me because I've always felt like I have a good Ben inside me and I have this little bastard bad Ben inside me. And the bad Ben is always saying it'd be easier to quit. You shouldn't do this. You should give up. You should quit this business or this thing. And the good Ben says it'll be worth it if you make it through. It'll be worth it if you make it through. But it's hard because that bad Ben, that little son of a gun is always chirping in our ear. What do we do to like push through that and take advantage of that extra 60% of potential we have?
Well, I call it the 1 second rule. The 1 second rule is, I'll give you a good example. Most of the guys who quit Navy SEAL training, they quit in Hell Week. And they'll quit within the first day of Hell Week. The first day. And all Hell Week is basically a typical day of Navy SEAL training. These guys do fine going through Navy SEAL training, but when it comes to Hell Week, they spaz out. They spaz out because they're not going to get any sleep, and they're not going home to a nice warm bed at nighttime. So they're going to have you for 1 week where they're going to kick the crap out of you. So that 1 second decision is this. We get in a situation that our mind is not able to break down into small pieces. When you're going through normal Navy SEAL day, your mind says, oh, not a big deal. I'm going to go home, get in a nice warm bed, maybe see my girlfriend, go to a movie. The day is going to end. Your mind can comprehend that and can comprehend the fact that today is going to end and I have something to look forward to. What Navy SEAL Hell Week is you have nothing to look forward to for a long time. You're suffering and you're suffering and you're suffering and you're suffering even more. And it's only 48 hours. And then you're going to suffer for another 100 hours after that. So your mind is already in this spastic mode. The spastic mode is, I have to get the hell out of here. It's your fight or flight, and usually it's flight. So to answer your question, the 1 second decision is what gets most of us is they get in this situation where, like in Hell Week, they put you out in that cold water for the first hour of 130 hours. These guys are the coldest they've ever been, and their mind is thinking, I have to be this cold for another 129 hours. They can't break that down. They're not going home. They're not going to warm up. It's not going to end for a long time. So the first step of trying to find more of that 40% to try to get to that 100% is you have to be in control of that very thought process. That thought process is, how can I stay here just a little bit longer? Because you're never going to get to 100% if you're constantly ringing that mental bell of get the hell out of here. You have to be able to stay in the fight longer. So how you do that is control that 1 second. And how we do that is we have to control our minds, get control back. When our mind's starting to spaz out, find a way to not think about 130 hours or whatever your task may be. Like I've run 205 miles at one time in 39 hours. Can you imagine if I were to think about 205 miles at mile 1? Your brain would say, this is stupid. What are you doing? This is crazy. Even at mile 50, if I thought about it. So you have to be able to live in that moment. You cannot allow your mind to get away from you. You can't allow it to start thinking about the pain, the suffering. Worry about that. It is coming, whether it be mental or physical pain. This isn't just about working. I'm not saying run 205 miles. I'm not saying go through Hell Week. I'm not saying be a SEAL. I am saying be your best. If your best is a computer person, whatever it is, be your best means you have to be in that moment. Don't allow your mind to start going away from that moment. Because when it does, your mind is the most powerful thing that we have. It will win. It will get away from you. It will trick you into thinking you're not good enough. You shouldn't be here. This is too long of a journey. Blah, blah, blah. But if you can stay in the moment, control your thought process, control what you're saying to yourself, you can slowly inch forward. And that's just the first tool of many in the 40% rule.
Wow. You know, I teach our people that we tend to complicate things to justify our inactions, meaning that we try to make things really big and then we come up with a reason why we can't accomplish that really big thing. And your way of putting that into that 1 second rule of digesting that down into what is the next step that I have to take, because we can always take one more step. It's
That's
imagining those 10,000 more that'll stop you in your tracks.
Exactly.
Wow, the intensity does not slow down with these two, and David definitely has an opinion that he wants to share in there with this 1 second rule concept. Bob, what's your takeaway from what we just listened to?
I mean, anybody can use this anywhere, right? This idea that like I've got a really big, seemingly insurmountable thing that I'm trying to tackle, and I just tackle it in my brain one step at a time, right? Whether it's running 207 miles, is that what he said? Like I don't know how many miles, like. When I heard it, I just blanked out, honestly. But it was just a series of like, can I take that next step, right? Ben's real estate teams, they make 1,000 dials in a day. It's something that they do. And I think a lot of their agents probably go, I can't make the 400 more of these, but I can make one more dial, and I can make one more dial, and I can make one more dial. So that mindset to approach these things that are otherwise seemingly insurmountable when we take the summation of them, breaking them down and saying, can I do that one more step or that one more second? Obviously there's power in it. I mean, this dude's running 200, like ultra marathon. This is crazy, right? Like, so there's a lot of power in that.
Sure. There absolutely is. The pull-ups that he did that we talked about at the beginning, it was one at a time, I'm sure, with him. And everybody listening to us today, there's something that you can do one more step just to get a little bit farther. Maybe it is something with your health. Maybe it's something with your wealth. Maybe it's something about part of the legacy you're planning to leave. Break it down and take that one more step. We really, really hope you enjoyed this conversation that Ben Kinney had with David Goggins. And if you haven't checked out Can't Hurt Me, David's book, go get a copy. It's definitely worth a read. We are going to be bringing you more conversations that we'll have with Ben. We're also going to bring you more conversations that Ben's going to have with some other people. And then, Bob, you and I have some great interviews lined up down the road for everybody as well. We really hope you enjoyed this different format. Make sure that you subscribe wherever it is you listen to podcasts. And you can always visit the winmakegive.com page to get a link to our YouTube channel as well, so that you can watch these and see what we're talking about. Until the next time, have a fantastic day.